It's day 10 of our 40 days of prayer to kick off 2021. Today I'm reflecting on Ezra chapter 10 and Acts chapter 10. And by the way, I really encourage you to read these chapters because it's better for you to hear directly from the Holy Spirit rather than just to take the stuff that I've thought about and try to live off of that. You need a direct relationship with God, not a 2 degrees of separation away from God. So if you read those chapters, you find in Ezra chapter 10, God's dealing with the sin of intermarriage, where some of the remnant, some of the exiles had gone and they'd married non-Jewish people, but in doing so, they'd strayed away from God's law and stopped worshiping God. So there, the intermingling with non-Jewish people is frowned upon. But in Acts chapter 10 in the New Testament, Peter is actually being called out of his Jewish comfort zone to go and share the gospel with Cornelius, who is a Roman centurion. And Peter resists that because he's so proud of his Jewish heritage, his Jewish identity, his Jewish culture, and his ability to manage his fleshly desires, and how he has really honored God through his living in the flesh. So on one side, it seems like intermingling with non-Jewish people is frowned on, and on the other side, it seems like the gospel is calling us out of that to build relationships with people who may be different from us. So what's going on here? Well, I think it comes down to a question of motives. In both instances, there's a sense of pride or the sense of wanting to follow our fleshly inclinations or desires. For in the Old Testament passage, it's about them marrying and then forsaking God. But in the New Testament, it's Peter's pride and his fleshly identity that keeps him from following where God's leading him. So in either case, it's this idea of how we've either syncretized our culture or just become so proud of our culture that it keeps us from following as God leads us in his gospel work. So what I want to pray for today is just that God would help us to understand those times when he wants to change us, to break us out of our cultural comfort zones, to break us out of our fleshly comfort zones, so that he can do a greater gospel work and show us what it is that he wants us to experience as his Spirit works in us and through us to bless others. So don't forget to pray for 2 other people, that God would lead us, break through our cultural limitations, help us to share the gospel with others, and then we'll continue to pray. I'll see you tomorrow.